Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who are back, having attended this morning's session, welcome back. And for those who didn't join us earlier today, you missed a treat. MG Leonard and Laura Ellen Anderson treated us to excitement and adventure and lots of... Pleased you've joined us this afternoon. We're delighted to welcome so many of you to our first ever schools programme. It's a shame that we're not seeing you in person, but we're already working really hard on our 2022 programme, and fingers crossed we're going to be in person next year and we're going to be able to get together and celebrate books and reading. And one of the wonderful opportunities from all of this happening is that not only are we welcoming schools from Bedford today, we've got schools from all across the UK, which is amazing. And actually, we're going to be able to continue doing that even if we are back to in-person events next year, because we'll have our local Bedford schools in the theatre with us, and we'll be live streaming with a video company, with a filming company across the country as well. So you're all going to be able to join us anyway. Now, I know so many of you are incredibly excited about this afternoon's session. We've had so many questions already. You have already told us how much you love the Sam Wu books, and you are going to love this next series if you haven't already. And I know lots of you have already read the first book and are in the middle of reading the second book. So this is going to be amazing for all of you. You're in for a treat. This has been described as a wonderful, warm-hearted and action-packed adventure, and a soaring, sizzling, fire-breathing gem of a story which is going to make you wish you had your own dragon bond. Now, this is your chance to ask Katie and Kevin anything that you like about their books or their writing process. So if you look to the bottom of your screen, you should see a live Q&A button, and you can pop your questions in there and we'll see them pop up and we can ask them. But don't worry, those of you who've already sent your questions in to me, I've got them right here on my bit of paper, and I'm going to make sure we get through as many of them as we can. So that's all from me. I know you're not here to listen to me, you're here to listen to Katie and Kevin, so I'm going to bring them on the screen with me. Here they are. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Katie Tsang.
I'm Kevin Tsang. We're so excited to be here.
So it's so good to see you both. We're incredibly excited. I can't tell you how many schools have joined us today and have already sent us so many messages. So I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to leave, and I'm going to let you both get on with it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. As we were saying, we're so excited to be here, and we are the authors of Dragon Realm. So first two books are Dragon Mountain and Dragon Legend. To let you all know how this is going to go, Kevin and I are going to do an introduction of the series. If you're not familiar, we're going to show a short trailer. We're going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and how we write, and then we're going to do a little activity together before we open up for Q&A. So should we go ahead and show the trailer first?
Yes, of course. Just to set the scene a little bit, we are going to share a trailer for Dragon Mountain, which is the first book in the Dragon Realm series. Here we go.
I get excited every time I see that, even though we have seen it so many times. So Dragon Mountain, to tell you a little bit about, we'll do a little bit of Dragon Mountain then us. So it is about 4 kids who we will tell you about a little bit more later if you're not familiar, who go on this epic adventure where they first meet at a summer camp in the middle of nowhere in China. And they don't know each other, but they become friends. And then they discover 4 ancient warrior dragons trapped inside a mountain, and the dragons need their help.
Bum, bum, bum. And so we had a lot of fun writing it. And yeah, we'll tell you a little bit more, and hopefully you enjoy reading it as much as we enjoyed writing it.
Yeah, and so first a little about me and Kevin. As you might be able to tell from our accents, we are not originally from the UK. I'm originally from California.
Yeah, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, but I was actually born in Denmark. My parents are from Hong Kong, so a bit of everywhere.
And Kevin and I have been really fortunate to have lived all over the world. We met studying in Hong Kong. That's this bottom picture here. And then we went and lived there again. While we lived in Hong Kong, we climbed really big mountains in China, which really inspired Dragon Mountain. We'll tell you a little bit more about that. We went to Thailand, we've ridden elephants, and now we are based in London with our daughter. We're also married. And so, we've been able to find inspiration all over the world for our stories. But, especially right now when it's tricky to do lots of travel, we'd really encourage anyone watching, especially if you're an aspiring writer, to find inspiration just in your own neighborhood, whether that's going to a park or even just looking out the window, from your own kitchen or your bedroom. You'd be amazed where you can find stories.
Yeah, up in the sky, there might be a cloud that looks a little like, a turtle with wings, and, that might start a story.
You never know.
Yeah. So, me and Katie write our books together, and then you might be thinking, how in the world do you do that? Well, we do a lot of planning before we do any writing. And so we actually, on the wall behind us, put up white paper and just plan out, who are the characters? What are they like? What's their challenge? Where is the story set? And we have all of these big questions that we talk through. So a really, really big brainstorming session right at the start to make sure, we know we're writing the same story and we're agreed on what happens.
And I'm sure a lot of you are very used to doing group projects in school. And so writing a book together is kind of like that. So sometimes I have an idea and Kevin has a different idea. So we have to figure out how to bring those two ideas together, how to have discussions and, really work together. And also for anyone who likes writing, but maybe finds it a little tricky or is a little intimidated, I would really recommend co-writing with a friend because it just makes it a lot more fun. So, you can come up with a whole world together, come up with characters, even if you're just outlining it, you don't need to write an entire book, but it can make it a lot more fun if you're writing together.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, I get stuck and I think, I can't think of what happens next. And it's so nice to have Katie to talk to about that.
Yeah, definitely would recommend writing together.
Oh, and then so Dragon Mountain is set, as Katie said, in China. And actually, we pulled from some of our travels in China. So the pictures you see here are from the deepest gorge in the world. It's called Tiger Leaping Gorge. It's actually me in the middle there pretending like I'm the tiger leaping over the gorge. But, like Katie said, we definitely love drawing inspiration from real life. Doesn't have to be travels, can really be anywhere. But we love this setting and we wanted to set Dragon Mountain here.
So we wanted to make the readers feel like, even if you've never been to the mountains in China, we want to make you feel like you're there. And so the first part of Dragon Mountain does take place in this mysterious summer camp. And then they go deep into the ancient dragon realm, which you'll find out a little bit more about. And, the dragon realm we created just out of our imagination, whereas, like we said, where the camp is set is based on a real place. And I think when you're writing and you're coming up with your setting, which is where a story takes place, even if it's somewhere completely fictional, like the dragon realm where the dragons live, we want to make it feel as real as possible. And so some ways you can do that is think of real life places and kind of writing how you would describe them. So how would you describe certain trees or what the sky looks like, what the air smells like? So you can put in real life details, even in places that you've completely made up with your own imagination.
Right. How about we do, we'll start with a reading from Dragon Mountain, the first book, the first chapter, just to give you a taste of what it's like.
And I know some of you have already read this, which is very exciting for me and Kevin. So thank you for that. But for anyone who hasn't, we'll do a little teaser for you here.
Chapter 1, The Mountain. Mountains always have secrets, and this one had more than most. Tall and majestic, with jagged peaks that punctured the sky, it appeared unknowable and immovable. And yet, if you were to watch it and not just glance at it, really watch it, it would sometimes appear to be breathing. If you stared long enough, you'd start to think that it was a different mountain altogether. One person had been watching this mountain for a very, very long time, and he had decided it was time for the mountain to show him its secrets. Deep within the mountain, a great creature stirred in its sleep. Its eyes rolled back in its head, and its wings jerked wide open. It suddenly sat up straight, trying to remember what it had seen in the nightmare. Darkness. All it saw was darkness and desolation. The creature shuddered and closed its eyes, trying to go back to sleep. It had been waiting for something, for someone, for a long time. It could wait longer.
Dun, dun, dun. And to find out what that creature is in the mountain, you'll have to read Dragon Mountain, although I'm sure you might have a good guess about what it might be. And now we want to tell you a little bit about our 4 key characters who we meet in Dragon Mountain and are kind of the leads throughout the story. So we wanted to have the book to have a really international feel. So our 4 characters are from around the world. We're actually writing book 4 right now. There's going to be 5 in the series. And book 4 is where we're going to meet. Actually, one of the kids is going to be from England. So we're really excited about that. But we'll start with Billy. Do you want to tell them a little bit about Billy?
Yes, of course. So Billy Chan, who actually is from his perspective, the book, he is from California. He's half Chinese, half white, and he loves surfing and is not excited about going to camp in the middle of nowhere. But little does he know, he is going to have the adventure of his life.
Ling Fei is actually, she lives in China in a village near where the camp is. And she loves wildlife and music. And she feels very connected to nature. And she's really excited to meet new friends. And so she's really excited for everyone coming to the camp. You might notice too, they're wearing these cool outfits.
Yeah.
And so the book doesn't open with these. And this is a small spoiler, but at some point before they go on their epic adventure into the dragon realm, their dragons help them put together these super suits so they are prepared for battle and against all of the challenges that are ahead of them. So Ling Fei's, hers is kind of a silver and Billy's is a blue here.
And along the way, they might actually pick up some powers as well.
Yeah, which we had a lot of fun coming up with. And this is Charlotte. Charlotte Bell is from Atlanta, Georgia, which is near where Kevin grew up. Now, Charlotte is really excellent at jujitsu and martial arts, but she also really loves dresses and fashion. So, you know, she, as you can see here, she specifically requested that her super suit has a skirt. And Charlotte's also really strong even before she gets her power. And she's probably the bossiest, the most outspoken of the group as well.
And this is Dylan O'Donnell. Dylan O'Donnell is from Galway in Ireland. And of all the kids, he's probably the most excited about camp. Cannot wait to learn. And is definitely not expecting as much excitement as he's going to be into.
And Dylan's also probably our character who gets the most nervous about things and a little the most wary. But he's also, we had a lot of fun writing him. He's really funny and has a really great sense of humor. So what we wanted is to have 4 really different kids. So anyone reading the book could have someone that they could identify with. You know, they could feel like, oh, I'm more like Dylan, or I'm more like Charlotte, or Ling Fei, or Billy. And again, we are bringing in 2 new characters in book 4, which we are currently writing right now. So now, on to talking about our dragons.
Yes, this is Tank on your screen, a red fire-breathing warrior dragon. So Tank is huge and really, really strong. The ground rumbles when he walks. A very, I suppose, typical, scary, big red dragon.
And Tank is quite serious as a dragon. So when we were coming up with our dragons, and we are going to do an activity with you all where we kind of come up with dragons together. But not only did we want to, you know, describe what they looked like and what their powers were, but also their personality. So yeah, Tank takes things quite seriously, but has a bit of a soft heart. But I would be terrified if I saw Tank on my own. This is Spark, who's my probably personal favorite dragon. Now, Spark is a seer dragon, which means that she can have glimpses into the future. Her primary powers are electricity and ice, so she can shoot out electricity out of her mouth and kind of like make these cool electric nets. And she is a bright electric blue, and her mane actually crackles with electricity as well. Now, Spark here is kind of a combination of a more traditional Western European dragon as well as a kind of Asian Chinese dragon that you would see. And so we'll talk a little bit more about kind of where her inspiration came from in a minute.
And this is Buttons. Buttons, of all the dragons, loves humans the most. Has tiny wings, but yeah, is actually pretty agile. Buttons is a healer dragon, so has healing powers, breathes fire, and is a vibrant green, as you can see.
And Buttons also probably has the best sense of humor out of all the dragons. I mean, he's very curious about all things humans, loves Buttons, as you can imagine, given his name. And as Kevin says, even though Buttons might not be as big and fierce as Tank, he's still great to have on your side in a battle, especially for recovery because of his healing powers.
And this is Xing. Xing is probably my favorite dragon. So more of a serpent-like Eastern dragon. Xing is sparkling silver, super fast, probably the fastest of all the dragons, and can sense magic and seek it out. Xing is, in terms of her personality, is a bit sarcastic, a bit sassy, but has like a really, really she's soft on the inside, so a big heart.
And I think Xing is your favorite dragon.
I think so.
So yeah, Xing was a
I
lot.
love them all though.
Yeah, of course, a lot of fun to write. And again, we wanted to make sure they all had very distinctive powers, distinctive personalities. And as the series has grown, we meet more and more dragons, which is a lot of fun, but takes a lot of imagination coming up with all of these different dragons and kind of keeping them all straight. And that leads us to our kind of activity that we want to do. So we thought we could show you all how we create dragons, and we could create a brand new dragon together. So usually if we were in person, we would call on you for suggestions. But what we're going to do instead is just work together between me and Kevin and really encourage you to maybe do this afterwards with your own class or with your friends. And
absolutely, it's kind of going back to when we talked about our process and we had the whiteboard paper. So this is almost exactly what we do when we come up with stories together.
It really is. So Kevin and I sat down at the very, right now these 4 dragons seem so established. We know them so well, but when we started, we didn't know anything about them. And actually, the activity that we're about to do, we've used it to inspire future dragons in the future books. So I think important question. Question number 1 is what color is this new dragon that we're coming up with?
Ooh, you know what? I was thinking it might be like a really vibrant green, sort of like Buttons, but maybe a little lighter. And
like a neon green.
Yeah.
Buttons is a dark green.
Yeah. And maybe has some sort of affinity with trees.
Ooh, I love it. Kind of like a naturey dragon. Oh, I love that. Maybe really good at like camouflaging itself.
Maybe it can turn into a tree sometimes when it sleeps.
Oh no, wait, it doesn't actually. Okay, maybe it looks like. Maybe its scales kind of look like leaves.
Bark.
Yeah, no, not bark, like leaves. Because
bark
is brown.
I like that.
Kevin's wrong. Bark is brown. Leaves are green. So it's got its scales kind of like flutter in the wind a little bit. And I think it has really big, huge eyes. It can see really, really far.
Oh, I like that. And you can definitely see in the dark.
What about its tail?
Maybe its tail sometimes turns into like a big tree stump, like a big bark, like a big.
No, I don't like that.
How about a big leafy?
A long leafy tail. I like it with a leafy tail. I'm gonna make it flutters. Also, sometimes this dragon can, when it lights on, it can like light the whole thing, can light on fire.
Oh, it turns into like a flaming dragon.
Yeah, and then when it's not on fire.
I love that.
So you think it's just like a chameleon. Okay, we got to come up with a cool name for this dragon now.
So sometimes it looks like a tree, like with the leaves, and then it turns like all.
Yeah, and it like flaps and like it starts flapping really fast, and its leaves turn into flame.
Oh, I love that.
So it's like a flying fireball. I think this dragon is size-wise, maybe like the size, like a car.
Bigger,
yeah.
Like maybe like a truck.
Okay.
Like a big lorry.
A big lorry. All right, the size of a big lorry. So when you see it, sometimes you think it's a tree, and this is a cool dragon. A tree in because when it goes into camouflage mode, so it's really good at spying as well. And I think it has
maybe because it changes like seasons as well. There's like in terms of
seasonal changing dragon. This is cool, just to make sure it fits in with the different things.
Yeah.
All right, it's kind of a chameleon-y dragon that looks like a tree, and I think that it's got 2 spirally horns that look like branches.
I like that.
So what is this dragon's name?
Ooh, Thorn.
Ooh,
I like Thorn as well.
I like Thorn because not fall. Fall is an action, a verb. See, sometimes, as you can see, Kevin and I, this is real time showing.
Especially if we feel like, we really like this dragon. We have like strong.
We want a good name. I like Thorn for now. We'll leave that Thorn for now unless we come up with something better. And what is Thorn's personality like?
Like maybe pretty relaxed until they get like really fiery.
And
maybe a bit of a temper.
A little bit of a temper, but you think they're really relaxed. Boy or girl dragon?
Girl
dragon. All right, Thorn. So Thorn is just like spying, being chill, being a tree until she gets mad, and then she turns into a flying, flaming fireball. I'm excited about this. I think we're gonna have to put this dragon in our next book.
Yeah, I think so.
So one of the dragons that you'll see when you read the next book, Dragon City, which is coming in September, there is a dragon named Midnight who we created in one of these activities. And obviously, we've just done this quite quickly, but this is literally how we come up with our dragons. We think about their color, their power, their personality, what they look like.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this dragon.
I like Thorn a lot.
I like Thorn too.
Thorn's also really good with kids. Let's kids climb on.
That.
I don't know. I'm just thinking about trees.
How often? No, that's too much detail at the stage. She's not like a playground.
Okay, you're right.
Maybe
I was just thinking I would like to climb on Thorn.
You can fly on Thorn. All right. All right. On that note, we want to go and show you now a little hint. We showed you the trailer for Dragon Mountain, and now we want to show you the trailer for Dragon Legend. Dun, dun, dun.
And
Again. So that is the hint of Dragon Legend, which is the second book in the series. They both are out now. So book 1 is really about, Billy and the others meeting and them discovering their dragons for the first time. Can we get out of this? And then book 2 is about one of their friends has been taken and they need to go on an epic quest to save them. I really love the cover of book 2 because you can see Billy riding one of the dragons. So I am going to go from, I'm actually going to start with chapter 2 to give you an idea of how book 2 starts. Or should I do the sampler in the back? Which one? I think this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Chapter 2, A Drop of Blood. Deep inside Dragon Mountain, Billy Chan held a blade made of bone. He stood at the edge of a shimmering blue pool. Next to him were his friends, and behind them were dragons. In what felt like a lifetime ago, but in reality was just a matter of days, Billy and his friends had opened the mountain, discovered 4 dragons with hearts that matched their own, and linked with them forever in a rare and ancient bond. Now the dragons and their humans gazed into a shimmering pool. Spark, a blue and gold dragon with long neck, twisting gold antlers, and giant sheer wings, stared the most intently. Her gold eyes crackled with focus. Billy sensed her effort. "Are we sure this is going to work?" said Charlotte, frowning. "It has to work," said Billy brusquely. He couldn't bear to think about the alternative. To find out what happens if they cannot make this, turn this magical pool into a portal, you'll have to read Dragon Legend, but read Dragon Mountain first and then read Dragon Legend. And I think, because I want to make sure, I know we already have a lot of questions. Can we go back so we can see the other thing? We want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions. No, here you go. Hold on, get here. We want to make sure we have time for questions now, so we will turn it over to Rachel for questions.
Oh, you're forward. Oh, you're okay?
Yeah, now we hear you.
We are I'm so excited, and everybody else is so excited as well. The questions have been coming thick and fast, and the comments, everybody is just bouncing. Somebody's also already demanding the next books and to know when the next ones are coming out. And please write faster. So I'm just going to rattle through as many of these as I can. The first one is from Brickhill Primary, and Thomas asks, "Is this the series that you are most proud of?"
Ooh, that's a great question, Thomas. I think it's hard to say. It's definitely the series I'm closest to right now because we're in the thick of writing book 4. But I think I do love the other series we've written as well.
Oh, I would say this is absolutely the series I'm most proud of. I love Sam Wu, and if anyone here has read the Sam Wu books, we love those very much. But the Dragon books are so much bigger, and they took a lot more effort. They're a lot harder to write, a lot more satisfying, just a bigger adventure all around. There's a lot more to keep track of. We have 4 kids, 4 dragons. It's a lot going on.
They're definitely harder to write. There's a lot more that happens.
So no, I think that's the one that I'm most proud of. They're definitely
the most exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a question that we get asked a lot, actually. How long does it usually take to write them? And that's from Goldington Green School.
Ooh, can I answer this one?
Yeah, of course.
So it's slightly different for the first one, because we were coming up with absolutely everything from the start, doing kind of like what we showed you. It took the longest because we were coming up with the characters from the very start. I'd say we spent about 6 months to a year total first, and then we spent about 6 months editing it. Does that make sense? About 18 months?
Yeah, I think that's about right. We spent a lot of time just working out. Like, we planned it out at first, and then we went to write the book. And I suppose not everything worked out exactly as we planned in that very first planning session. So it took a while to.
And we had to rewrite the first one quite a bit. Now that we know the characters a little bit better and we've gotten better at planning and working together, now they take about 6 months to a year. So we spend about 6 months drafting and then about 6 months editing. So each one is about 6 months to a year. But the books are coming every 6 months, which is really exciting. So you never have to wait too long for your next dragon fix.
Ooh, now then, this is great. Are you going to make them into a movie from Priory Primary?
Well, that's a great question. I really, really hope so.
We would love that, but authors actually don't have a whole lot of control over that. So basically, if it were to become a movie, someone like Netflix or Disney or someone would have to say, we want to turn Dragon Mountain and Dragon Legend into a movie or I actually think it would be fun as a TV series too. And I would want it to be animated. Kevin sometimes thinks he'd want it to be live action. So much CGI. But the best way for something to become a movie is for lots and lots of people to read the books. So if you want it to become a movie, just keep buying the books and tell everyone you know to buy them too.
Oh, they would make great films. I can't decide whether I'd like, because I love live action, but then there have been some amazing animations. Like, have you seen The Secret of Kells and Song of the Sea? Oh, these are just, they're so magical and ethereal. They would suit this.
Ooh, we'll have to look those up. We'll have to see those. Thank you for the suggestions.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm just trying to find out who asked this question because it was a great question. I'm going to flick through and I'll ask when we get to the end. But what would you be if you weren't authors?
Ooh, well, I actually have another job. So I'm a management consultant actually in my other life. But I work with the NHS, so in healthcare.
And so for a management consultant, for anyone who's not familiar, is someone who kind of works with different companies and organizations and helps them solve problems. So Kevin's working a lot on pandemic and COVID related things over the past 18 months. So very busy. And then if I wasn't an author, I've always wanted to be an author. It's really my dream job. So I feel really lucky. But before this, I write full time now. But before because in addition to writing books with Kevin, I write books for teenagers. But before I was writing full time, I worked at the reading charity Book Trust, which I really enjoyed. So a lot about books. So I think if I wasn't an author, I would want to do something still in books. Maybe that would be running a bookshop or continuing to work at a reading charity. But yeah, being an author is my favorite dream job.
I think if I had any other job, though, I'd probably also look into being an astronaut. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, sorry, that question came from Priory Primary. I love this next one. This is one from Brick Hill again. If you could have any superpower from the Dragon Realm, what would it be?
Ooh.
You want to go first?
Any superpower from the Dragon Realm, I really would. You know what? This isn't a power that we've put in the books yet, but I think we could give it to somebody. I would love to teleport because I really love travel and I have family and friends who live around the world. So I would love to teleport. And then as far as in the books, who has books, Ling Fei has some pretty cool powers where she's really in touch with like nature and the natural world. I think I'd like that.
Ooh, she has a really good one. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty cool to have super strength.
Like Charlotte?
Yeah. Super strength. Also, there's a scene too that's in one of the books where someone has a power where they can do basically a really big protective shield that hides them. It's like an invisible shield. That would be very cool as well.
Yeah, but I mean, are we really going into battles very often? How often would you use an invisible shield?
You wouldn't know because you wouldn't be able to see me. Use it all the time.
That's a great question. Thank you.
So there's one one of the wonderful things about doing these events online is that we can invite our home education families in to do this as well. And this is from one of our home education families. and they've asked about the similarities or the differences to the Sam Wu series.
Oh, I think definitely one of the similarities is it's about kind of being braver than you think you are. So Sam, for people who aren't familiar with our Sam Wu books, it's a series of books for geared slightly younger than I think than Dragon Mountain probably, but about a boy who has to face different fears. So each book he faces a different one. They're very much grounded in reality though, whereas in Dragon Mountain and Dragon Legend, it's a fantasy book with with dragons, quite obviously. But I think in both all of our characters really have to show that they're brave. It's also a lot about friendship. So Sam has some really great friends who help him face his fears. And, like I said, we wanted in Dragon Mountain, it not to just be about one kid who saves the world. It's about the 4 friends together. They couldn't do it individually. They really have to work together.
Yeah, and I think too, both books are, we try to keep humor, especially in Sam, but also in the Dragon Realm series throughout. So it's not too serious of a fantasy book. We try to keep it light.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love the fact that you can clearly see the way you work together, because you the way you answer and the way you talk about the books, it's just completely in sync with each other.
Except when we argue about what we're going to be naming our new imaginary dragons. It's really heated then.
So what is your favorite character out of all of the books you've written, all the series?
That's a great question as well.
So hard.
That's a hard question. It'd probably be one of the dragons. I think I have to go with Xing.
Xing is
I love Xing.
Xing actually means star in Mandarin Chinese, which is pretty cool. I love Xing too. Oh man, my favorite character out of all of them, and I do love Sam Wu a lot. I love Sam Wu, and I don't know, I want to choose all of them. This is too hard. I can't do it.
You're choosing your favorite child.
I know, it's impossible. And out of our dragons, yeah, Xing is really fun to write. I'm gonna choose all 4 dragons as one character. The dragons is mine.
You're allowed. That's fine. And so, what about your favorite book that you didn't write? What's your favorite book, just individually?
Ooh, you want to go first?
So my favorite book that I read as a child and still love is a book called A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. And it was made into a movie. The movie was not as good as the book. No offense, Reese Witherspoon and Oprah. I love you both. But I love that book, and I love it so much. So when Kevin and I got married, we actually gave away copies of that book as our wedding favors, and we had a reading from it. And A Wrinkle in Time is about a girl and her brother who have to go on this epic quest to save their dad. And it's an adventure story, but it's got a lot of heart in it. And I love that. And I think that that's something we try to put in the Dragon books, where it's an adventure story, but has a real emotional heart, hopefully. So I love A Wrinkle in Time. And then more recently, children's books that I've read a lot. I recently loved, I know you did earlier the event with Laura Ellen Anderson. I love Rainbow Gray. It's a book that when I was younger, I would have been obsessed with. And it's one I'm already excited to share with my daughter. Our daughter is 2 when she's a little older. There's so much good stuff. I also recently read and loved Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Incredible. Again, epic, exciting adventure. I would love one day. I hope we can meet, you can come to England, or we can do a virtual event. So yeah, I think my favorite childhood book, A Wrinkle in Time, recently loved Amari and the Night Brothers and Rainbow Gray.
Have you seen the new cover for the new Amari book?
Amari and the Great Game. It looks so good.
So good. I think for me, the book that actually really sparked a lot of my reading, not a children's book, but Jurassic Park, I absolutely loved. I read it pretty young, actually, but I love dinosaurs and love that. And I also really loved the Harry Potter books.
And what's nice it's funny because thinking about dinosaurs and dragons are kind of similar. So you've got a dinosaur and
really
dragons.
Sparked my love there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Izzy from Brick Hill has asked how many books you've written, because you mentioned earlier that you do books for older readers as well.
Yeah. So together, Kevin and I have done 6 Sam Wu books, and there's going to be 5 Dragon Mountain books, so that's 11 together. And then I also write teenage books, so I've got 2 that are currently out and 2 coming next year. So that's 11 plus 15. And then we've got some other things coming that we can't share yet, but lots of books on the go, which we love. We feel very lucky to get to work on so many different books.
Oh, that's so exciting. That's amazing. So, and I remember actually when you came to Bedford to talk about one of your older books, you said something that I thought was really helpful for a lot of the kids who were listening, and actually links a little bit into this next question, where you talked about what a long process it can be for getting your books picked up and published. And I remember that's always stuck with me from that day in Bedford, for you saying that. And I've said that to so many people, because in the bookshop, people used to come in a lot and say children used to say they wanted to be writers, and they used to say, when you came to Bedford and you said you can get so many rejections, and then the right thing comes along.
Oh, absolutely. No, and now, like I said, now I've got 15 books, and so so for anyone I'm watching who wants to be a writer, so for me, it was something I always wanted to do, and so I wrote a book and nobody wanted to publish it. Then I wrote another book and nobody wanted to publish that one. And then I wrote a third book and still nobody wanted it. It was the fourth book I wrote, full complete book that I sent out to literary agents who kind of help you get a book published and publishers. And that book ended up being my very first book, which was for teenagers. So I think I got in total like over 160 rejections on those first 3 books. So I'm so glad I didn't give up, because now I get to have my dream job writing. Kevin has had 0 rejections.
Katie was the trailblazer.
We started writing together, and immediately Sam Wu sold, and then Dragon Mountain sold right away. So he's had a much easier time of it. But yeah,
he's had none of the rejection.
But no, yes, and I would encourage that for anyone watching, even if you don't want to be a writer, whatever it is that you want to do, don't give up and really keep trying, because it's And there's always rejection with being a writer. Sometimes people might read the dragon books and not like them. I don't know why, because they're amazing. But I think it gives you good, thicker skin, and it's good. But yeah, keep, whether you want to be a chef or a soccer star or football star, whatever it is you want to do, just keep going.
Now, there's a great question here from Queen's Park Academy. What made you want to write about dragons in the first place?
Oh, wow. Well, I just love dragons. I thought, what would be like a more fun thing to write about?
Yeah.
They're so mythical. And, I think there's so many different types of dragons and so much you can do with them. Like, so we wanted to make it as big and exciting as possible. So, we gave our dragons powers, and we have all sorts of, they all look different. And so it was just so much fun creating them.
And also at the time when we were writing them, there's so many great books about dragons. But if you think about, like, for example, How to Train Your Dragon, or Smog in The Hobbit, these are dragons that take place in kind of a much longer, they're fantasy worlds, but like more Viking time or medievally time. And we really wanted to write about what if kids living today discovered dragons. And that was really a lot of that gave us a lot of the idea. And as Kevin says, what's so cool about dragons is everyone recognizes them, but there's so many different things you can do. And at the time too, we also hadn't seen a lot of dragons inspired by, Eastern and Asian mythology. So especially in the first book, there's a lot of influences there from, Chinese legend and myths that we wanted to put in for our dragons. So our 4 dragons some of them look more like dragons that you would see again in kind of like European dragon stories. And then some like Xing look more like you would see and Eastern dragons, and then some are combinations. Like Spark, we wanted to be a combination of the 2. So there's just so much you can do with it. And like Kevin said, we gave our dragons powers. We basically made them like sorcerers, but in the shape of dragons. Yeah.
Now, somebody's asked a question, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'd be interested to know how much input you have into it. Someone's asked, Lydia from Brickhill, how do you create your book covers?
Oh, that's a great question. So Lydia, the publisher does do quite a lot of leading on, the cover itself, but they always come to us in terms of input, or actually even before, they might ask us about if we do have design thoughts. So I think it depends book to book and publisher to publisher, but we've been relatively involved.
So we did say, for example, for book 1, we said we want there to be all 4 kids, and here, you want to hold on, I'm having trouble. All 4 kids and also 4 dragons, which is a lot going on. And we provided the illustrator, whose name is Peter Antonsen, and he's brilliant. We gave him really detailed descriptions, and we sent pictures of like other dragons saying, okay, so sort of like this dragon head, sort of like this dragon wing, but combine them. And then they show us early versions, and we get to, approve those. And then for book 2, we actually said we would love to see Billy, our main character, flying on a dragon. And so they were able to do that. So that's been really, we love our covers though.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're amazing, absolutely beautiful. Really bring the story to life. Did you, this is a good one, did you watch any action adventure when you were younger, and has that inspired you at all?
Oh, absolutely. I think, there's so much to compete with these days in terms of like movies and video games, and we really wanted the book to feel, and to be in that, that it'd be as exciting and engaging as playing a video game.
But what like action shows did you like when you were younger?
Oh, I like them all. I love Power Rangers. I love watching Dragon Ball Z, so some anime. Yeah, all sorts.
Power Rangers is definitely a big inspiration for us here, especially with the kids in their super suits and they're like, Power Rangers, you think of that when they like power up or whatever it is called, they do, and they turn into the giant dinosaur robots. They look a lot like, it's like kind of like our kids each having like a partner with the dragon. Yeah, I love Power Rangers. Kevin and I still to this day watch a lot of things. Reading is obviously the best, but you can get inspiration and find stories everywhere. And there's so much great content now. So like we watch, anime. We also watch a lot of animal shows to get inspiration. So we also watch a lot of David Attenborough. And so we'll be like, oh, okay, like this. So in Dragon Legend, if you've read it, there's a fish that you might meet. A giant fish. And we were literally watching one of the deep sea episodes. And we were like, that fish is so cool. We're going to do a giant, magical fish based on that fish. So we get a lot of inspiration. Shows.
There's like some pretty unbelievable, really cool stuff in the deep sea.
But that's actually real.
It's terrifying. There are friends of mine who are like, why don't you like swimming in the sea, Rach? I'm like, have you seen what's in there?
No. You should read Sam Wu is Not Afraid of Sharks. There's a lot of facts about sharks and facing the fear of what's in the sea.
True story. I think, there were lots of questions, but I think I've managed to combine lots of them to get most of them answered. Let me check. No, I think we've got them all. There's one that I quite like though, and it's a good. I think Maya answered this one this morning in a way that was quite interesting. Were you good at writing at school?
I think I've always had a good imagination, but I don't think I've really, honed in on the writing until very recently.
Yeah, and I always loved reading and writing in school, but I wasn't good at all subjects. And I think that's really important to tell kids, and also something that I'm still not great at is I'm not great at grammar and spelling. But that's not what writing books and storytelling is about. There's actually, and if you are very good at spelling and grammar, you could be a copy editor, whose job is, so Kevin and I write the story, our editor helps make it better, and the copy editor is almost the last person to read the book, and they catch things like spelling and grammar, which is really, really helpful. So, if you're not great at those things, that doesn't mean you can't be an author and you can't tell stories. I definitely enjoyed, I would always, for my friends, come up with different stories. I like that. I didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to write in school. It's not something that we did a lot, and I wish we had done more of it.
Yeah, and I think even now, the first draft compared to the draft you actually get in bookstores is so different.
Yeah.
It's so I'm actually a bit of a perfectionist, and it took me a bit really to get into this writing process where you really just have to get words on a page and
then go back and make them better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Maya was saying this morning that she wasn't great at writing at school. She got poor grades because of that exact reason. And then she said, but then I read that Shakespeare never in any of the manuscripts that we found that were definitely by him, he never spelled the same word the same way twice. He never used a comma, and he never, it was just story. The story was
and I think too, I'd really like to encourage anyone watching who likes one of the fun things about coming up with our dragon books, if you don't feel confident as writer, you can draw what you think the dragon would look like, or even just talking it out with your friends. We'd love if you did that as well. So it's so fun. Co-writing makes it so much more collaborative and almost like playing a game, which is really fun.
That's amazing. Oh God, this has been amazing, Katie and Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure you're all very, very, very keen to read more about the Dragon Realm. And if you haven't already read Dragon Mountain, to get your teeth stuck into that, and Dragon Legend. And then of course, is it September for Dragon City?
September, Dragon City. Very excited. And it's got a really great, we should have showed it. We don't have it yet, but an amazing, great, I think it's the best cover yet. So maybe you can look it up afterwards. Yeah, and of course, if you haven't gotten your copy of Dragon Mountain, we love Rogan Books. So get your copy from there, and we will be doing, if you do and you leave via your school or however you want to do it, leave your name. We'll be able to do you a signed book plate too.
Brilliant. I was just going to say, if you want to buy a book, we would love it if you would buy it through us. And we've put the links in the email that have come out to you at the school and all of you at home. We do offer a little bit of a discount, but also anything that we get helps to keep this festival going and help us deliver it to you for free. So that's great. Wow. What an amazing start to the weekend.
Thank you for having us. And thank you everyone for joining us as well and for hosting such a wonderful event. And yeah, we've had so much fun. We hope you guys did too.
Oh God, it's been amazing. And it's been the perfect start to the weekend. We've got a huge program coming on. We've got all day tomorrow. We've got Steve Cole. We've got Axel Scheffler, who created the Gruffalo. We've got Vashti Hardy, whose new book just came out yesterday, Crowfall. Patrice Lawrence, who is incredible.
I want to watch all of these. This is amazing.
Oh, I mean, Patrice Lawrence, I could not. I've been just bouncing around. Paul will tell you, after we finished our tech rehearsal with her the other week, I was like an excited child just bouncing around on my chair. And then we've got Sunday, we've got the amazing David Litchfield, and he is being joined by Axel Latimer all the way from, not Axel, Alex, I've just said Axel, Alex Latimer from South Africa. He's being I know. And then we have Zanib Mian, who's doing her Planet Omar books.
Oh, amazing.
Gareth P. Jones, who is doing Rapunzel, and he'll be doing lots of music with that because he always does, which is incredible. And then note with the amazing poet Raymond Antrobus, and he's doing a session with Polly Dunbar about their new book, which if any of you watch Coronation Street, you may have spotted it on there. It's about a little bear who thinks that everybody's asking him, can bears ski? And it turns out that he needs to get some hearing aids, and they're saying, can you hear me? And it's a beautiful story. Finding out, and finding your journey into it's just beautiful. It's just wonderful. But you guys have set the weekend up for us, and we are so grateful. Thank you so much. It's been amazing.
You. The rest of the festival sounds so amazing. So I hope everyone joins you lots, and I hope you just have a great, fantastic time.
Thank you. And all of you, get on reading the Dragon Realm books. You're going to love it. And start writing. We want to see your writing. All
right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.